Hey, good morning. Today is Jamie. What day is today?
Today is Thursday, the 14th of May.
All right, awesome. I knew it was the 14th because I had everything centered around May 13th. Surprise, surprise. But essentially, what I do want to say is that thank you. I really appreciate the response. Like I said, all I need is one of these. I really ask everyone if they see me in public or anything, please don't talk about this channel. Please understand that I'm not a celebrity. I have zero interest in any of fame or notoriety. And one of the things that I really appreciate is knowing that I'm only speaking to 100 to 200 human beings, because then I could really engage with those people and express that not only am I thankful for the people that have doubted me, because that's truly my motivation behind everything that I've done. Now that I'm myself, I no longer see the people that doubt me as motivation, and perhaps that might be bad, but that's the real Daniel, and everybody knows that. And I say the real Daniel is because everything I've done in the last 9 years has been me. But the best analogy that I can think of is just imagine that in the world of business, if being a very intelligent and highly successful young man is looked at as something that is really positive. Well, believe it or not, it actually is. So people really saw me as a star phenom that's able to pitch 120 miles an hour if he's able to do what he needs to do. And then lo and behold, something happens and I injured my shoulder and I could still pitch 90 miles an hour, 91 miles an hour, but it's not enough to even get into AAA. And I keep trying to express myself that, like, look, it's not just I am actually injured. Like, it's not that I can't pitch 90 miles an hour and I'm coaching and I'm working out and I'm doing everything, but and then all of a sudden the truth is that I find that the reason why I'm not able to pitch above 91 miles an hour is because when I did have the injury 9 years ago, the doctor told me to take medicine XYZ, and that's the reason why I haven't been able to mentally focus on my muscle systems. That's the best analogy that I can think of, and anyone who actually knows me can hear the tone of my voice has changed. And one of the things that I find to be, I don't want to say laughable anymore. I want to say not scary. I want to say the truth. The truth is I really don't care. Like, I'm sorry, I'm too smart and too successful, and honestly, I'm not that bad looking that Mallory needs to, like, continue to insult me all the time. Like, if I was good enough for her, I'm sure I could find another human being that finds me attractive somehow. One of the things that I'm frustrated about is that for the post, so one of the things you need to understand is I create more content than most people actually work, which means that I'm actually working the entire time that I'm not creating this content. But believe it or not, when you're dealing with a constant cycle of anxiety that's perpetrated because of the lack of support that you have for the very same medication that you started taking because of the first time you injured your arm. And remember, as a pitcher in Major League Baseball, that's all you have is your arm. No one cares about your foot. No one cares about your brain. No one cares about your heart. All they want to know is, how's your arm? How's that arm, champ? Imagine that kind of world where you actually have only one part of your body recognized. If you're successful. And if you're a failure, well, then no one even cares about that arm. It's a sad world we live in, and it's a cold bucket of reality. And I want to remind everyone that if they do find themselves in a world where they need to look at a human being who successfully overcame an opioid addiction, and whether or not it was a socially acceptable opioid addiction, and that's where the line where I say to everyone, I was an addict. And I wasn't an addict by choice. I was an addict because my doctor had suggested it, and then my doctor did suggest for many years to try to come off of it. It wasn't. His name is Dan, and he's a good man, and I have nothing bad to say. I think that in reality, the Inglewood Medical Center and the Inglewood Hospital literally saved my life. Dr. Anna Saror and the rest of the staff were incredible. So that being said, at the same time, I do have a lot of communication issues because what happens is with a lot of hospital groups, really good doctors go into this pool of aggregated services. And one of the biggest two, technically it's only one. It's insurance. Because the insurance for malpractice, the insurance for everything you can imagine, truly, like you have to know about risk assessment, risk management. You can ask George Costanza about that. And you must understand that there's power in numbers when it comes to risk management. And like, I'm not saying I know something about the subject, but I'm also not saying that I can't find myself very comfortable in a board meeting that discusses exposure and how to mitigate it as a business model. Trust me, I'm not trying to tout that I'm good at business. I'm just good at business. People that are good at business don't need to say that they're good at business. They can just be good at business. That's the best part of business. The end result is how good you are in business. So when a human being that's in the business of commercial real estate can't rely, like for example, my first 2 years of active participation in the business, I was able to get 120% return rate. And 120% ROI in a stable asset class such as real estate is unheard of. But I did it with my eyes closed. And one of the reasons why I say this is not to tout myself, it's just that the reality of having a person who produced so much innovative concepts for a society that does the same thing over and over again was rewarded by having his properties taken from him. So meaning that what little result that I had over a brilliant innovation. So for example, a lot of people don't really understand that one of the things that I've never said, and now that my mind is clear, I was like, all right, I'll give everyone an example of why what I create is absolutely brilliant, original, and innovative, and what you create is a piece of shit that you pretend to be something what it's not. Over the last 20 years, as everyone knows, there's a period in business called the death of retail. That period is stabilized because the majority of people already know that Amazon, Alibaba, or whatever dice you want to roll with whatever Chinese company that produces whatever knockoff version of whatever is available on Amazon / eBay. And I say that because the dual market is required, and if anyone knows anything about me, I am really good at selling shit on eBay. Believe it or not, it's one of those skills that as a modern business owner, you must understand that it's literally equivalent to being able to get into a kitchen and cook for your men if you're a captain of a ship. If you are a captain of a ship and you have the ability to manage a galley, you have a lot more respect from your men. And a lot of that has to do with the concept of being able to feed your men and being able to care for them and understand that, like, if you're showing the kind of love that you're able to cook for them, you're not going to send them into a place to kill them. And that kind of trust is really required when you're dealing with a very high level of stakes, such as your own life. So what I like to do is truly be hands-on in every project that I do because I'm a genuine human being. The biggest difference between what I do on this channel versus every other YouTuber is that I talk about my own personal experiences rather than discussing current events, sports, or things that happen in other people's lives. Now, these pundits are not bad. I'm not saying anything bad about these people, but every single story that you hear is not only true, it's most of it I don't even say because the concept of what I do is so innovative and rare that your brain doesn't actually recognize that what you're seeing is exceptional in itself, let alone the context of that every human being that is coming off opioids can forever look at me and say that this is possible. Meaning that when you're coming off an opioid, you have an option to go into a group therapy. You will meet many people that are successful heroin beaters, but then you go into a prison and you look at the quantity of people that not only have failed, but have not had a second chance because the things that they did on heroin are not something that can be excusable. There are victims in there. There are people that could die. And the reason why I say this is the percentages are overwhelming in the favor of people failing while being on an opioid. So forever, throughout the course of humanity, as I exist and I breathe happily, every human being that has ever been addicted to any opioid can always use me as a motivating factor against the millions of lives that have been lost to the same thing. All you need is one human being to beat it, to know that it's possible. After me, there could be millions of children that are saved from opioids because one guy said, you know what? I've been addicted to 9 years. It goes into your bloodstream. It goes into your bones. I'm in massive amount of pain. But like, honestly, if you know me, I went through second-degree burns all over my body and didn't miss a day at work. my threshold for pain is far in excess of yours. Trust me. I know. It's me, Dan Rhesus. Now, this smile comes at a price. I don't have beautiful teeth. I am not a good-looking man, and if you notice, I've had multiple strokes in the last 10 months due to the stress induced by my family. And I say this with all love and respect, and I would like to end the conflict, but obviously I'm currently on trial for a complete misunderstanding of my attempts to express myself via an artistic format that I've already expressed myself for over 7 years. Now, mathematically speaking, not only am I the #1 creator of original unedited content in the world by a mile, but I am also currently, for some reason I can't get the numbers in, I don't know why, but I'm currently the record holder for longest pro se trial, other than Jackie Narcisco, who's #1, who spent 2.5 years, but in all due respect to the criminal justice system as well as reality, unlike Jackie, who actually was a member of an organized crime family, I, Daniel M. Rhesus, am not engaged in any of the activities that I'm accused of. So that puts me in a very different category, and I assure you that going forward, not only will I not engage in a domestic partnership because of my fear of being misunderstood, or I don't know what happened on this round, but essentially I want everyone to know that I hold the record for the longest pro se trial in U.S. history. About 10 months or so at this point going on. And that's not to say that like it couldn't have been done in 2 weeks. It's just that based on the calendar and the judge's discretion, she decided to prolong the entire trial for literally 10 months. So that makes me the world record holder for the longest pro se trial by an innocent pro se litigant in U.S. history. Also, when I get the numbers back, I believe that I am also the shortest pro se trial attorney, litigant, whatever you want to call it, and my estimate is about 82 minutes of actual transcript. But once again, instead of actually having the ability to have people do their jobs, I am constantly forced into wasting my entire day because I'm literally going to drive down there, communicate with them, and say, like, with all due respect, like, I can't live my life. No one can get a job. I can't do business. I can't pitch a business concept while there's a mugshot of me on the internet over harassment. No one's doing business with a man that's harassing their wife. Like, I don't understand how this is a concept that's difficult for people to understand, that the accusation itself has destroyed my ability to make an income. So until I correct all of this, let alone the fact that the people that are supposed to protect human beings are at the heart of this. So, like, the fact that it's just humiliating for me, like, honestly, really, it's truly a humiliating thing. So, like, mind you, within the context of the world's longest pro se trial, I'm being accused of stalling and making things go longer while the judge literally only sees us once a month for no reason whatsoever. She's like, I'm really busy. I go into the courthouse, it's completely empty. There's not a single fucking person there. It's a brand new $200 million building right in the heart of Newark. I promise you, I have to go now there, show you guys what's going on. I'm not allowed to film in the courtroom. I respect the rules of the court, but I am going to show you the facility of where someone is too busy, that they literally let a 10-month trial go on. And you're going to say to yourself, wow, that's actually like disgusting level of corruption. I'm going to say, look, this is what I have to deal with while having my children taken away from me. So, like, not only do I have to deal with this as a citizen, I actually have to deal with the ramifications of trying to fix it. So obviously I'm regretful in my attempts to try to make the world a better place. Look at how it ended up. One would think that the people that are not in corruption would stand behind me, at least to disprove me. And fine, like, all right, you're not going to be able to disprove me. And yeah, okay, this is a trap. But that's only a trap because you don't believe what I say. I wouldn't be able to do this if people are like, oh my God, yeah, he's absolutely right. This guy's doing bad, this guy's doing bad. We'll replace them. If they do bad, we'll replace them again. I mean, like, that's the way the Constitution and society work. But when you have the people that are bad controlling the interests of the good, you're not going to get any actual change. And if you want that, that's great. And if you want to just continue to let trillions of dollars be flushed down the toilet by giving it to human beings that literally go against the good of what they're being elected to do or paid to do, then there is no reason why our entire infrastructure wouldn't collapse on itself. Because you're not getting into a class of human beings that are mentally cognizant and there. So the people that are at the helm of leadership positions are able to make these really horrible decisions. And before, when there was a system of checks and balances in place, there were individuals that would stand up and say, look, we understand that you're an elected official or a powerful human being, but what you're doing is not right. In today's day and age, because of the distraction and the addiction to personal electronic devices or PCDs, known as personal communication devices, human beings do not have the mental capacity and the whereabouts to care or do anything about the blatant criminal corruption that is in front of them, because that would interfere in their cognitive function that is solely given to a system that does nothing for them. It's like being hypnotized and brainwashed voluntarily. And the reason why I say this is because once I came out of the fog and I'm able to clearly express myself, I want to tell everyone that I have a lot of content to post, but I have so much issues with even Apple data systems that I know a lot about. And I want everyone to understand that perhaps maybe I've allowed people to criticize me before in the past. At this point, I'm literally telling you, think whatever you want, say whatever you want, but I produce each and every one of these videos. I edit every single one of them myself. Is this true, Jamie?
100%.
I taught Jamie how to do it. I've been waiting a very long time. If anyone doesn't understand the significance of the artistic form of what I have done is, you have seen two-dimensional film and movies and still are watching it, and you're watching it on your phone. What I have created is a three-dimensional movie. It is in real life. Livingston, New Jersey is a real place. These conflicts are 100% real. Everything you see is 100% real. It is like the Truman Show, just on an international global scale that is completely protected from the rest of the world, and every single human being is designed to not believe me. Not to believe me. Like, if people believed me, I wouldn't be able to film. But because people don't believe me, I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And this is like, with all due respect to every human being that has decided to arbitrarily invent a series of events that never happened in order to have me exit their life, I want to remind them that they could have just said, Dan, we don't want to be friends with you, or I don't want to be married to you. Like, none of this is necessary. I don't even understand what about me would indicate that I would do... Like, honestly, like I said yesterday, and now that I'm like feeling a little bit better, my body really hurts, and I will be going through the process of how many days, months, years it takes to truly feel like. And a lot of that has to do with being out of shape and cigarettes and stress. So, like, as you can see, I'm not really sure, the bags under my eyes are kind of getting better,
Yeah,
right? Is that
much
true?
better, yeah.
Right? So a lot of that has to do with blood sugar maintenance and intake of food. And one thing I really wanted to tell you guys is a story. And I know that perhaps the lead into the story is a little bit long, but once again, if you're a human being that's interested in communicating to the world or being in entertainment, you must understand that addiction is one of the biggest issues that every human being that's special deals with, because their system will want them to be in a cycle of dependency, because then they're controllable. And that's not to say that I'm wild or uncontrollable. That's just to say that it was in the best interest of everyone around me to keep me sedated or not sedated. The point is that all I had to do was break a cycle to recognize that I have closure now. I recognize that, listen, I love my boys. I just want to be a good father. I know that everyone thinks I'm a deadbeat dad, but you just don't understand what I've done. And one thing I want to express before I start my story is that I just want a clean separation, and I have no interest in fighting my wife. If the rules of New Jersey did not say that a wife deserves half an estate, I do. At the same time, there's actual accountability for action taken prior to the filing of the divorce that would kind of adjust some of the figures to make it a little bit more realistic as to the damages that were done by the decisions of very intelligent attorneys that were at the helm of the advisory process of the principal. Do you understand anything I just said?
100%.
All right. Sometimes the way I speak is literal, And I also want to express to everyone that if you find yourself in a world of pain and you don't know who to turn to, please just look in the mirror and look inside yourself. I promise you'll always be there. I know it sounds really stupid and corny, and most people will give different advice, but if you're healthy and alive and smart enough to understand what I've just said, you're smart enough to look in the mirror. And you have to make a decision whether or not you want to live or die. I chose to live. I wasn't in a suicidal state, nor did I need to, but I do recognize now that when someone like me experienced such a monumental growth, the motivation for them to do drugs doesn't exist anymore. That there's zero reason why a healthy-minded, healthy person. One of the things that I never want to express to anyone is that there are many people who suffer from depression. And I know that I'm not one of them, because what I suffer from you can categorize that as a manic state, but I'm happy. I'm always happy. I lived a very difficult childhood to the point where I was able to really calculate how short life is, and I don't believe in having conflicts with people that you want to have in your life. I've never understood it. I very rarely have had any issues in the past prior to my marriage. And one of the reasons why I want to say this is because I don't know who that's married that doesn't fight with their wife. But in my experience, every healthy marriage has a balance. But like I said, I'm not a marriage counselor. My marriage failed. So I don't give any advice. But I do want to say that when it comes to acting like a man, I sure as shit have never spent a single day doing anything but that. And if that's a problem in today's society, then I don't deserve to be married, and I do take responsibility for a traditional marriage that I thought I was entering in. And obviously you can Google Sharon Simon and Annie Arbic, who, when my wife went to the lacrosse house, Annie Arbic and I became close. And she's a really awesome girl, but like she ended up taking a different path in life, and you could Google her name, and Sharon was really sweet. And these people are really good to me because they know who I am and they know my character. And if you want to Google Sharon Simon and Annie Arbic and put 1+1 together, that's great. But the truth is, it was in the past, and Annie and I watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So I thought it would be cool to have Kate Hudson on Valentine's Day, so that one day I could be honest and say, look, the truth is I was really hurt by the lack of awareness throughout the entire course of my relationship. I just brushed a lot of that off to age and cultural differences because I felt that Mallory, my wife, was raised by a person that was really mean. If you listen to some of the stories a little bit more than you do. And one of the reasons I say this is because when I met Mallory, she just turned 18 years old and I was just 19 years old. We're actually 1 year and 1 day apart. A lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't know that the one day that we're apart, August 14th, just happens to be Jamie's birthday. Is that true?
Yeah.
So like having the person wedging between you and your relationship, and having that person born on the day that's between you, and having the fact that all three of us are Leos, and one is 13, 14, 15, and Fidel's 16, by the way. And look, the sad truth is, as much as I want to deny the fact that, like, I'm a horrible athlete, but at the same time, I was, like, Darren Chen and Scott Davidovic were 1-2, but I was on the varsity pole vaulting team. I was the third guy. There's only 2 or 3 people, but you could say JV. I really don't care. And the issue really became is I really wanted to get into the sport in 8th grade, but the year before, the gentleman Sam O had an unfortunate accident where he fell headfirst into the pit, and like I didn't understand why everyone was so like cautious about it until freshman year, and I met Sam O. And he did have long-lasting effects from his injury, and it is a serious thing. And I never understood why they didn't just mitigate all that by making kids wear helmets. And I just don't understand how a sport in the late 1990s in Livingston, New Jersey, can experience a head trauma like that and say, maybe we'll lose a foot of jumping, but like these kids should be wearing helmets. And that's one of the one of the reasons why I stopped the sport is because there's other logic issues that were even more evident than that. So like if you're listening to this, you're like, wait a second, that makes sense. Jamie, did that make sense to you?
100%.
Like you could talk. You don't need a thumbs up.
There's
no one
reason,
sees your thumbs up but me. They're, like literally, that's not the way television works.
No.
We can get it
I
lesson off
never
camera.
really heard anything about pole jumping until I met you.
It's not pole jumping. Pole jumping sounds very homoerotic.
Sorry, pole. What is it?
Pole vaulting.
Pole vaulting.
I'm just saying pole jumping is like
pole vaulting.
You're a step away
and it's
from
a really dangerous sport. I had no idea how dangerous it is. You really risk yourself every time you do it.
Once again, the more riskier a sport is, the more exotic and lucrative it is on all aspects. So, for example, in my personal opinion, when you're watching track and field, when I'm watching people running around a circle, why wouldn't like matchboxes that my boy Gar has going around a track be any different than the guys running around the track? Where's the dangerous element? They might trip, but like at the end of the day, I watch horses run, and there's a great movie called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And the reason why I say that is because the concept of the way horses are treated is very literal in metaphorical sense to the way human beings who are talented or can perform are treated. So to me, track and field is a little bit difficult to watch, but pole vaulting is amazing.
How many people quit pole vaulting after this happened?
Well, no one joined. It wasn't that anyone quit. It was just I was the only person joined because Darren Chen, he's Chinese and I think or Korean.
That's very hard to do with
culturally,
a
they
helmet.
were very similar. And Darren played football. What?
I would imagine that's very hard to do with a helmet. That sport.
Well, then it shouldn't be done.
Then it should. I agree.
Like
with you.
honestly, between me and you,
be done.
I met this kid. He had a
helmet.
serious injury, and I hope he's okay. And I really don't know anything. And he's seen, like you know, and plus I met him within a year of the injury, so recovery, it's tissue. But brain cells are a little bit complicated. Nor do I want to like experiment. But what I was basically saying is that, like, to do the sport with a helmet, obviously it would affect it, but, like, why wouldn't you, like, look, the truth is the actual helmet would look ridiculous because it would be make your head look like a condom because you would need to wear a soft... Jamie, either sneeze or don't sneeze.
It's not coming out.
Anywho,
I know. Well, I think
or like a hard helmet, like truthfully speaking, when I see that there are football players that literally look like mushrooms from Mario Brothers playing football, then I say to myself, I'm sorry, but like
it's like Spaceballs.
What?
It's Spaceballs. Like the big Spaceballs helmet.
Well, I mean,
ridiculous.
do you wear a helmet when you snowboard?
Yes.
Okay, so like if you're able to do the same vault on a snowboard, why can't you do it pole vaulting? With a helmet.
Pole vaulting with a helmet? Because don't you need like your weight and your momentum, and a helmet would weigh you down?
Has anyone ever tried it?
I don't know.
Why don't you YouTube right now, pole vaulting with a helmet. See if anyone's able to do it, all right? So if you're able to see a video of a human being pole vaulting, let's see, like this is why you need an assistant. Again, if you see what I've accomplished, one of the biggest attributes I would say is I want to give credit to my assistant. She's an incredible assistant. She's a very hardworking person. She literally was I was a fake varsity athlete because Roger Rubinetti just destroyed the freshman squad that wasn't going to play senior year. I was one of those people who thought that I was lucky enough to play, but...
this does not exist.
So you're saying
There is no videos. I can't find any.
I swear to God, I will go to Scott Davidovic's house, put a pole vault helmet on. He will go to Livingston High School. I swear to God, Scott will do it in 2 seconds with a fucking helmet on.
With a helmet?
Of course. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't exist. No one's ever pole vaulted with a helmet on.
I'll have to keep looking, but
Listen, I got to be honest with you. As much as I disagree with Scott about many things, about like basic banter, one thing we don't disagree about is his skill set as a pole vaulter. Like, he might not be like Sergei Bubka, but when you talk about consistency...
It is a
Let me just
exists.
show me one video.
Okay.
All I need is one video. I don't care about like human beings that talk about it. I'm talking about it.
Okay, hold on.
Anyways, I hope Scott's good. He's a great dad. Amazing. Just him and his wife are awesome. And... those are the kind of people, that's the reason why I do this, because there are human beings that I know for a fact are really good people, and Scott gets so upset when I mention him on YouTube. So, like, why would I not do it, you know? You could, like, not see somebody for 5 years, and you, like, I'll talk about Scott, and I have, like, half dozen Scotts that will think that I'm talking about them. I could say nice things, I could say bad things. It's irrelevant. They'll always think that I'm talking about them. But this Scott, in particular, I have a lot of appreciation for because he's actually good at the things that he wants to do. And like that's very rare in today's society. So they're, you know,
I can't find one.
it doesn't exist.
I mean, the helmet itself exists, but I cannot find one.
What helmet itself exists
Okay.
without a single helmet? Why wouldn't the company that makes the helmet make a video?
I'll click on the link for it.
Well, there's a picture.
But there's no video.
Has anyone? Wait, is the issue that no one can do it with a helmet on? Well, anyways, I guess it would be interesting to find out. I'm sure there's a level of like when you're, you know, like me personally, I just think that based on what I know, I just don't think that it would be that crazy, and I think that people could take a lot more chances that are good. Like this kid Scott was much better than, like he was. He like. I don't know what happened. I don't know, like, you know. Remember, this is Livingston. We're not like that good athletes. So for Livingston, he might be. I know he has the record still in high school, which has to mean something. It's 26 years. I can't be like crazy. And what's even crazier about it is Scott wrestled, and he was a much better pole vaulter. So that's kind of like why I say that. But people don't seem to understand that one of the most difficult things in sports is a big deal. And like sometimes I have to explain it to him that it's a big deal because he's always being told that like, oh, this is gay or this is not good. There's nothing gay about it. It's an incredible feat of like body mechanics that most people can't even envision, let alone do. What?
I don't think anyone wants to be videoed with the helmet if it does exist. It does. There's no video. I cannot find anything.
No, it begs the question. It begs the question of why. No, there's got to be.
There's pictures of people wearing
Okay.
a helmet.
All right. Well, anyways, I got to get on the subject.
Yeah,
now.
let's talk about.
All right?
You also want to tell the story about the country when you went with your dad, the food, the.
First, okay. So first, I'll tell you guys here's a good example of the difference between me and every other YouTuber you'll ever see in your entire life. Okay. The main difference is that the stories that I tell you 100% happen. They happen to me. They're absolutely real. They can be verified 1,000 times over. And this is one of my favorite stories. And everyone kind of thinks that I have this really, really sad and gruesome childhood. And that there's a lot of truth to that. But I'm a positive person, as I said earlier, so I make the best of it. So here we go. This is approximately, Daniel is 12 years old. You with me?
Daniel is 12.
All right, Daniel's 12 years old. My parents just got divorced, and my dad and I went to Disney. And my favorite part of Disney was the rides because I didn't have to deal with my dad, and not because what?
Did you have to deal with your dad in line?
Yeah, well, not on the rides. So like, you know, kids are like, oh, I love the rides. I love the rides even more because my dad couldn't bother other people in line, and like God bless him, but. He really had no social awareness, and a lot of people don't really understand how difficult it is to be the child of a human being that has no social awareness, and I think it's really insulting as a clear-headed individual that I get it compared to that because mindfully speaking, I'm not going to even speak to anyone. I'm going to wear my headphones and be left the fuck alone because I don't think that human beings that are able to, like for example, like I have a material issue with the law enforcement officer that's part of the baseball team my child is on. Why? He knows me personally. He knows I'm not that kind of person. And witnessing something like that without stepping forward or at least reaching out to me is kind of not okay. Especially based on the character of him and his wife, and they're good people. So when good people start doing bad things, you need to ask yourself what the hell is going on. And that's where I get into the fact that people are really brainwashed. Because I know that if there was no phones or social awareness on a digital front that is inaccurate, meaning what happens on social media is not real. That's not what reality is, but because of your inability to distinguish between the two, you believe that me speaking on camera actually affects what I do with my children or outside. That's an illusion that I perfected based on a skill set that I worked on for 9 years straight. Now, many of you have not understood how difficult it was to get through the uphill battle to recognize that I have an opioid addiction and it is okay to talk about it. And the reason why I say this is because we don't live in a world of understanding. Some of the best content that I film, I'm not able to produce because I currently don't have the capacity to render it based on what's going on with the Apple Corporation's inability to update their file systems faster than I can produce content. Is this true?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am breaking the internet, not
Constantly.
figuratively, but literally. Because remember, everything that's uploaded needs to be monitored and watched. So because you might think that it's uploaded within seconds, that's not what happens in reality. In reality, it's, you know what? I'm just going to save it because if it's not publicly disclosed, like for example, a lot of you might not understand that the current systems that monitor a human being who's speaking about very sensitive subject matters are able to distinguish heart rate, pulse, pupil dilation, facial expressions, and recognition. The more data a system has, the better it is to recognize when the human being is telling the truth and when they're lying. I have lied about 1 to 2% about the things I've said on YouTube, primarily out of fear, context, and fear. And that fear stems from the inability to justify why people would want to hurt me for being myself and telling the truth about nonviolent, truthful, honest, and rightfully very interesting subject matters. A lot of people don't know that my issue with Whoopi Goldberg doesn't stem from Whoopi Goldberg's blatantly racist collection of lawn jockeys she has in the room that I really don't want to talk about right now because a lot of people don't understand that the doctor that I was speaking about is Dr. Jeffrey Gold, who retired, and his son, Josh Gold, daughter Jillian Gold, and wife Jeannie Gold were extremely good to me. And they're the ones that lived in that beautiful house in Caldwell, and I stopped being friends with Josh Gold after 3rd grade. Now, a lot of people think that because I'm talking about Josh Gold and Jeffrey Gold after 3rd grade means that there is some effort that I made into reaching out to him. I want to remind everyone that I've never even had Facebook in my entire life, let alone spent the time to try to find Josh, who frankly I ended a great relationship with. I mean, we were close friends, we were in 3rd grade. Wouldn't it be normal to reach out to someone when you're 23 years old and be like, hey Josh, you know, I haven't seen you in a decade. I did it with my boy Brendan, and we ended up being in each other's wedding parties. And Brendan was the one that put Josh in a garbage can, and I stood up for Josh, and that's why I got invited to Jeffrey's house. And Jeffrey Gold was a man of science, brilliance, and had a kind heart. He would make pancakes for me every Saturday morning, and he would slice them up. And he had one of those skillets, you know, or he had a real kitchen. And he had one of those skillets that's a chef's skillet right in the center. And it had a hood that went up, and he would have everything ready for us in the morning. And we would wake up and we would sit at the bar. And he would ask us what kind of pancakes we want. He would make me my pancakes, and he would slice them up, and then he would put toothpicks in the center. And that happened for about 3.5 years straight. What?
That's so cool.
For about 15 weekend sleepovers a year. This is one of the kindest men. Him and his wife deserve literally a fucking statue for them. And so I was waiting for the moment to, lo and behold, introduce myself as a married man with 2 beautiful children, but that didn't work out. But I did want to reset on my medical care and get a new doctor, but because of the oncology department at Englewood, which is the only one I can go to, I was kind of excited because he was part of the Englewood medical system, whatever, but he retired a couple of months ago. And the reason why I say this is because, believe it or not, I only have 2 experiences with Christmas as a child, and my first one was, I guess, at the Bolshoi Theater, where my mom insisted on us going to the Nutcracker over and over again, and I kept asking her, why can't we watch a different show? And eventually I figured out that it's a big deal, I guess, to see the Nutcracker and the Bolshoi front and center. Not front, like I didn't want to be in the front, but I like to be in the center, and I was really upset if anyone blocked my view and whatever. And then my second experience was on the Edison estate, where the granddaughter of one of the men that was part of the Edison Inner Circle. And a lot of people don't know that right now Llewellyn Park has properties. Back then it had estates, so like 7 or 8 houses were part of one estate that Edison would carve out to someone that was good to him, like the governor. So, that being said, when I was there, the woman that we were invited to see was a doctor friend of Jeff. and Jeffrey Gold. And Jeffrey was a Jewish man. His wife was not Jewish, so they celebrated Christmas in their household. But we went to Solomon Schechter, which was an all-Jewish school, so it was a little confusing. So that was the first time, and I was about 8 years old, and when we were getting dressed to go, it was like a big deal, and Josh kept saying, they have... And like they had like their house had like 5 floors, so it took like forever to run up and down. And Josh had this like very Josh had this long hair and this like silky long hair, and he had an earring. Yeah, he was.
Wow,
it was a big deal.
Whoa.
And he was an individual, and that's why I liked him.
You were 12?
8.
8? You had an earring at 8?
He was awesome.
What a little baddie. That's funny.
Well, a lot of people, he was small, and we were both small, and like a lot of people like kind of like poked fun at him, and I always stood up for him. So after I became friends with Josh, he wasn't bullied anymore.
Here you go.
So, you know why he had the earring?
Why?
Because when they were moving in to their house in Caldwell, one of the movers had an earring.
Oh,
and it was a big,
with them.
Well, it was a big deal because sexuality was defined, I guess, with which hole you put your ear in.
Back in the day, it was which hole.
So
I don't remember.
if it was a right earring, you're gay, and if it's a left earring, you're not.
Same
gay.
with like there was something with the nose. It depended which side. It was very.
I wasn't a piercing guy, but did you know that Mark Reese's had a tongue ring?
No.
Well, I'm letting the world know. There's nothing wrong with that.
I did not know.
Except for the fact that it hurts. Did Mark Reese's? I think so. Yeah, because his friend had these like hole spacers.
Yeah.
And I know Mark doesn't have that. And I don't remember Mark with earrings. And Mark had a tongue ring, and believe it or not, once again, in my experience, if I was Mark, I would have a tongue ring. And I swear.
Wait, why?
Because his friends, like a lot of people don't know this, my brother never has like a best friend. I guess me at one point, but my brother is always friends with a group of friends. He's like a hyena. He's like a pack.
They travel in packs.
They go travel in packs. Like him and his friends in high school were a pack. And it's funny, like whatever.
How many people were in the pack usually?
5 to 8.
Oh, that's a really big pack to roll up with at all times. 5 to 8.
Oh, I'm just counting. I wasn't comparing.
That's 2 cars. Yeah.
Those boys in cars aren't like, they're not car guys. That's all I have to say. But they are good men, and they're very intelligent. Remember, like my brother, well, Jamie has a phone call. So, Mark, what I was basically saying is Mark's friends ended up actually opening up a innovative website called tribalectic.com, and they got big into the business, and there's nothing bad you could say about people that are part of an innovative, new age. You know, they took a risk. Like, what's to say that they wouldn't be able to parlay that into a $200 million company that gets sold out to Microsoft, you know, like, or more in line with a distributor online like wag.com that went to Amazon. Why couldn't Tribalectic be sold to Amazon as part of the counterculture for piercings that, you know, require a little bit more than just, you know, putting something in your cart, unless you want to be a poser. But, you know, that being said, the reason why I say, everything okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So,
sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's take Jamie. What, you were doing your job?
Yeah.
That's insane, Jamie. I'm filming a YouTube video.
How dare you?
How dare you answer the phone?
Where did we?
You loser.
Where did we leave off? I don't remember.
Well, yesterday I used the word celluloid instead of cellulite. That's a mistake. Second of all,
oh yeah, and there was one other.
I called Danny, Nancy, and Sabrina a loser. They're not losers. They're just not human beings. Like, my wife is really cool. She's always been like the cool girl of the group, and like, why wouldn't her friends bring her down? Because like, I'm not saying I'm cool. I'm just saying I didn't have any social issues in high school, and my wife is a beautiful woman. I still think that she has the most beautiful hair I've ever seen in my life. No offense, Jamie. I definitely think your hair looks cool, but I think Mal takes the prize on that one. And I think that she has the most beautiful hair of anyone I know. It just happens to be my wife is the person. And like, I don't really judge men's hair too much because when you're in a class of human beings that a big chunk of the best ones are bald, like Ed Harris, it's hard to like, I'm lucky I even have hair is the way I look at it. You know, it's true. And one thing you need to understand is women who have beautiful hair for a long time, like Linda Shapiro, they have white hair because human beings that get older need to choose of whether or not they want to have male pattern baldness, which keeps your actual hair the same color, but and it's called for some reason male pattern baldness, but women get it. It's just pattern baldness. We're all human beings. I think it's just ridiculous to. But in general, they keep the hair color the same way. But human beings who have a full head of hair, they'll turn full silver or white. And that's just my experience. I haven't done the science behind it, but a lot of it has to do with the hair follicles and the stimulation of neurons in your brain. So you find human beings that are a little bit sharper with a full head of blonde hair.
My grandmother had this like white full head of hair. I was always so fascinated by it. I was like, how does anyone have hair of this color?
Can I tell you something?
I'd stare at it.
My grandma in her like mid-90s started to thin out, but like most of her 80s, like she didn't wear a wig or anything. Like I said, with females, when I saw Judge Judy take her wig off and really show me the real brilliant woman she is, I was humbled. I really understood how scary it must be to have to put on a mask just for the world to accept you for the genius you are. I love that ticking sound. Ladies and gentlemen, I want everyone to understand that what I do is not only unique, it is extremely important for everyone to understand that interference in this could affect the life of even one child. And if you understand how difficult it is to remove opioids from your life, not just from your body. I like the ticking sound.
Yeah.
Of course. Gives me pace, rhythm. It's like a metronome. Now, the reason why I say this is because my father really showed me a very interesting part of life. What my father showed me was how not to live life. And it wasn't personal, and he didn't do it in a way that he wanted to do it. And it's like, the way you throw a bowling ball. My father never understood the concept of the game is to knock down 10 pins, not to scare the families next to you by hurtling the ball at 80 miles an hour for no reason at these like innocent 10 pins. My father just like channeled all of his like immigrant rage into. Jamie seems to find these stories funny, so
also your imitation of him doing it.
Well, my father and I, we have the same hands, so like once I became like 11, 12 years old, I needed to get a heavier ball, and my fingers wouldn't fit into the holes. And I would be like, and my dad's not a funny guy, but some of the shit he does, if you pay attention, is actually funny. So I'm trying to get my ball into these holes, and I'm like, Dad, this is ridiculous. There's no balls that fit my hand. And he just looks at me and goes, with his like, he does his like cockeyed, with his like short sausage fingers that are very meaty. And he's like, basically like, look, you're talking to the wrong guy here. So, there's a lot of me that is my father. There's no reason to deny it. But culturally speaking, socially speaking, I really learn a lot of things what not to do. And here's one of the stories. Now, here we go. See, I loved rides and everything like that. And I love movies, obviously. And in the spring of I guess I was in, I want to say 6th grade, something like that. I had very excitedly asked my dad to go to Hershey Park. Pretty normal story, right? So I asked my dad. He's like, sure, no problem. They know, there's no problem. And that's the way he spoke.
Perfect.
Most of the time it was Russian. Конечно, без проблем. He was a really, really loving human being. So I'm like, awesome, we're going to go to Hershey Park. And so I'm like, Dad, you got everything covered, you got it planned. And one thing I'm not telling you is Hershey Park is right next to Amish country.
Yes.
And my father we came to America in 1989. My aunt came to America in 1982. So she was culturally 7 years ahead of the game.
Okay.
So she experienced a lot of things before us. And one of the things that she loved to do with her family was go to Amish country and stay the night over in the barns. Have you ever done this?
No.
I'm going to do this, obviously, with either Pierce or Drake. Obviously, Drake is going to say no, and Pierce is going to say maybe. I hope he says yes, but it's a lot of fun. Well, listen to the story. So I go, Dad, I would like to really go to Hershey Park, and he's like, oh great, the Amish country is right there. We go without the problem. I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, Dad, you got everything covered. You booked the hotel. He's like, I talked to Galina. You don't need the hotel. You go. You talk to the people. They let you stay in the barn. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, Dad, you sure? Like, you sure you got this covered?
Oh, God.
And he's like, no problem at all. You know, like I got this covered. So I like an idiot, I told everyone at school, like, I'm going to Hershey Park this weekend. So it's Thursday, and there's a couple of stories. There's also the hot air balloon story, which is even better than this one, so please pay attention. So my father goes, and we get in his Nissan Stanza, and I put in the Aerosmith pump, not get a grip yet, pump. Actually, Toys in the Attic I started with, I remember, on the road trip. It was a solid 3 hours to Harrisburg, so I knew the Toys in the Attic was required. So the road trip starts. Obviously, my father gets pulled over like he does in every road trip. And this time he doesn't get a ticket, I think he gets out of it. So we eventually get to Hershey Park. And my dad is like insistent on going. So one thing I'm not telling you is that my father was raised not on a farm, but in the rural, my dacha, which is like my summer house, was actually where my dad grew up. It was like the land that my grandfather owned. And on that space, like my grandfather never actually did the farming, but he liked to pretend like he was a part of the process. So he would have like fresh cow's milk brought over to his son, and that's like one of the reasons why my dad's a diabetic, but that's irrelevant. And you could have a conversation about the adverse positive effects of pasteurization with someone that's a Francophile and loves Louis Pasteur. But when it comes to Russian culture, unpasteurized milk is a very commonly drank thing, and a lot of people don't understand there's a lot of butter fat in milk. Like, have you ever drank an unpasteurized, like the milk that comes out of this thing? No. All right.
Maybe,
well,
but I don't
it tastes like more like melted butter than anything else.
Well, maybe I like it.
And well, listen to the story. So it's just such a good story. So my dad and I get in the car, and I spend like 3 hours getting so excited, and we left at like 6 a.m. So we're arriving at like 9:30. So I'm like, oh, this is incredible. It's the beginning of spring. So like, I know I'm gonna get on a lot of rides, and my brother's not there, so I don't have someone like an anchor dragging me down. I know I'm gonna hit these rides. And we get there, and I'm like noticing that like the lot's not full.
Oh my God. It's like a European,
Just wait.
Oh,
so we pull up, and I'm like, I know something's wrong. And my dad's like, everything's fine. It's early. It's not summer. So we get to the front, and it's closed.
Of course.
It's closed. I went insane. And my dad, I completely lost it on him. And he accepted it, actually. He was like, come on, please. I'm sorry. I fucked up. Like, I was like, you fucked up? You said that you got, like, tickets, or you said you looked into it or something. I was irate.
Okay.
And as, like, my dad is trying to make it up, and I'm 3 hours from Harrisburg, and, like, I've got, like, my mom that went on one of her trips. So, like, the Hershey Museum is open.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, like, all I just remember is just sitting there in, like, this, like, tilt-a-whirl as I see how these candies are made. And that's the ride that I'm on. And my dad's, like, taking pictures. There's, like, a ton of there's a ton of pictures. My dad just always took pictures. So my stepmom has all these pictures. And I'm just, like... And, like, I want to kill him. But, like, you know, at least it's something movable. You know, it's a ride, whatever. So I'm like, all right... You know, it's like probably noon. I'm like, Dad, can we just go home? He's like, no, we are in Amish country. We are going to stay in the farm. I'm like, oh my God. Because, like, you know, it's a social contract. I was like, I'll do the fucking weird farm with you.
But
it wasn't like it was weird. It was just like, my dad is really difficult. If I had maybe like someone else's dad, I don't know, like anyone, I think it would be a different experience, but like being the son of Arcadia Reeses in itself, I think I deserve some sort of an award. But when it comes to like it's like a survival.
So what happened? So you
That's why I don't fuck with Mark.
What
That's
happened
why
when
I'm
you went
like.
to Amish country?
So first, my dad tried to tell people, like he tried to get.
Well, how do you find someone to just crash at their
Well,
Amish
my
farm?
aunt, I think, like did it through either an agent or she knew someone in Amish country. My
Got
my
it.
aunt
There was
is
a contact. You didn't just like.
not
roll up
only
and start
that, like
asking
my
random
aunt,
Amish
with all
people.
due respect to like human beings, my aunt and my uncle Boris are very clean and like nice and Americanized and everything. And my father is like a brutish man. And like when you stay in someone's home, like you have to make them feel comfortable. Like there's nothing about my father that would make him feel comfortable. Like my father's the kind of guy that like if you let him stay in the barn and the barn burns down, like you're the only person to blame. like he's just like it wasn't like he was dirty or smelly or anything. It's just like like it was scary. And that's one of the reasons why so we couldn't really and like one of the things is my aunt has 5 kids, so they would stay with a brood of like 5 children, a wife and a husband, and it like works well with the whole Amish thing. And my aunt had a lot more money than my dad, so she would pay the people
Did you
more.
like work on the farm?
We never were even allowed on it.
Wait, what happened?
Everyone that my dad asked said no.
Oh god.
It was like 2 people, and eventually he got the hint. So he's like, "All right, fuck it, we're gonna stay in a motel." I was like, "Dad, like now we have to stay in a motel. It's getting worse and worse." So like we get a room at this motel. He said, "Well, at least they have a pool." And like we go to the pool and there's no water.
Oh god.
And I'm like, "Dad," like, and then the guy fills it with water and it's just so cold. And I'm like, "Dad, I'm not swimming in it." And he's like, "All right, well, I want to get this milk. You know, I remember your grandfather used to get me this milk." And for anyone that doesn't know, my father has this big bushy beard. And we try to go to like a farm that like milks cows, and like the people are like, I speak English, my father speaks English, so people are like, "Yeah, I don't know what you heard, but we're pretty industrialized." And like the places that we went to, and this is like I guess 94, they had like the rows of cows with the machines on and everything like that. So there was no places where like and they're like, "Well, there's some Mennonites up here that like do it for a spectacle, but you know, like there's nothing that prevents us Amish from," and I'm like, "Okay, great, Dad, can we leave now?"
Yeah.
And like it's really inhumane. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a milk site or anything like that. Like it's you don't want to like make eye contact with the animal. I'm like 12 years old, and I'm trying to get my dad to like really recognize that we could just get in the car and go home. Like we obviously everything went sideways on the trip, but my father's bullheadedness. You know, he obviously took out a 20 and bought these 2 giant jugs of milk. And I'm like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And then the guy was like so surprised that somebody wants to give him $20 for something that like he doesn't get paid money for. He's just
Right.
a worker of an industrial. So he's like, "Oh, great. My wife makes a loaf." And the loaf that she baked was actually pretty good. So my dad's like, "I really just want to try this. It reminds me of my childhood." And I'm a nice kid. I'm like, "All right, fuck it. Let's go try this milk." And my dad, like,
Fuck it.
and my dad takes me to this hotel room, and he's like, "Well, we don't have any, like, the carafes that they gave him were actually, like, I remember were, like, really cool because, like, that's what they had." And, like, I think they can see that my dad is, like, kind of handicapped, a little funny. And, so, like, the milk couldn't fit in the mini fridge.
Okay.
So he had to put it outside. But it wasn't, like, that cold. So
Oh,
the
gross.
milk fat separated from whatever. And, like, my dad's like, "All right, I'm going to try this." And he takes a swig. And his entire, I'll never forget this because it was just incredible. The milk fat went into his beard, and it literally looked like he looked like he dyed a goatee on his, because like my dad couldn't drink something without spilling on his shirt. So obviously that was a little too much. And so that he literally looked like someone dyed his face with a goatee of white. And I at that point I was like, "Dad, we're going to do the Amish thing, but we need to go home tomorrow." And we went to the wax candle thing, and one of the coolest parts is like my dad gave a 20 to a guy, and he let me ride the carriage, and he let me ride horses there. Like people would like unstrap a horse. I rode it because I knew how to ride a horse. So we did what we could, and the point is like my dad made the best of what he could. You got to understand that when you're dealing with a human being that really needs assistance on a daily basis just to function, to expect that human being to actually father and be a role model is not a realistic expectation. And one of the reasons what my aunt knows is that she could have easily invited my dad and me on those trips to Amish country. Because what? 9 is that different from 7? You couldn't show a little kindness to your brother that couldn't function without you? And that's not me. You see, I always make sure to take care of my brother. Even right now, anyone hurts my brother, I'll be the first one to show up. They'll have to explain themselves. Mark knows that. Anyone hurts my nephews, everybody knows who the leader of the family is. I just don't feel like doing anything anymore because no good deed goes unpunished. I kept my aunt's furniture in storage for years and tried to sell it, and she ended up getting mad at me. And that's when I was really sick, and I'm not blaming anything on the opioids. I'm just saying that a human being who's clear-headed doesn't deal with people that are that mean to their father. Like, I did it out of love, and a lot of the misunderstanding is that I justified my love as some revenge. The truth is I have no revenge. I really don't care what happened in the past. I'm too intelligent for that. Everybody knows that. And I think that one of the issues is that I haven't been able to express myself. Like, for example, Jamie, one thing I'm going to do is just basically release this video and ask everyone to give me a couple of days break so I can adjust some of the memory on my hard drives, because I do produce everything myself, and the data is extremely sensitive and requires a massive amount of care to not affect the raw data footage, which has the metadata that shows the actual changes are made by the individual that's producing the content. You see, I want everyone to understand that the human beings who have millions of followers do not have control over the content they produce. They are too valuable. I am the only human being who actually controls his own content. And having that person be able to understand that they are the ones that are in control over what you see is very scary to you, because you don't live in a world where an actor can say what he wants to say. Like, for example, Tom Cruise cannot go into the bathroom without many people around him. Because can you imagine a video leaked of Tom Cruise going to the bathroom? Who's going to watch Mission Impossible when they know and have an image of this guy pooping, like as if he doesn't go to the bathroom? But we don't live in a society that can accept that video being public. That's it. It's not a big deal. It's just that actors do not have the ability to have a private life. That's why you'll never see a Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt Instagram account. And I use them as examples because they are the gold standard for modern day actors that will age into an appropriate gap, because the plastic surgery that they, like, excuse Tom Cruise for being a 60-year-old man and wanting to look young. Excuse Brad Pitt for having teeth that need adjustment. Like, give these guys a break. Like, and then there's like copycats and things like that. But essentially, these men are artists. They have given their life to our stories, the stories that are used by billions of people to make examples, and contextual references are given to them by human beings who sacrifice the ability to poop. Think about the amount of anxiety you must have in order to make sure that there's no one recording you go to the bathroom. Or else the value of your product diminishes and everything you've put forth for your children, your grandchildren. Like, lo and behold, God forbid, you allow these people to exist as human beings. You see, what you don't understand is I'm the only human being in the world that is real. Like, what you see on this camera is exactly what it is in real life.
Yeah.
Thanks. I hope I've expressed myself, and I just want to end the story with one final story of why I have a very hard time relating to people, and it's nothing personal. It's just that you must remember I didn't have a choice to be born to one of the more powerful men in the Moscow labor union. I'm not like a human being who had that choice. I definitely was the person that gave myself a middle name after him, and the gangster, because that was really cool. But not like the criminal gangster, like the businessman, whatever, it doesn't even matter. I like math, that's But what I was basically saying is that when my mother left my father for another man, I didn't blame her. It wasn't a matter where I looked at, I do have the gift of intelligence and vision at a young age, so I was able to forgive my mom at an early age. There wasn't, so sometimes I'll look at Jane and sometimes I'll look at the camera, so I apologize, but a human being needs to be able to speak to at least one audience member for it to be technically verified as not insane.
Not insane.
Well, I think that nothing is insane, especially if it's healthy, it's constructive, it's nonviolent, and for anyone that understands, like, oh my God, this guy can be working right now, driving Uber, selling shit on eBay, all that happens. But the decisions that I make with what I do on a daily basis revolves around 2 court orders that I don't understand what the difficulty is producing them if they're literally the words of the judge, and for some reason I have to waste my fucking afternoon going to this courthouse and just, like, genuinely speaking, one of the things you'll notice as a material difference is I'm going to be a lot more reserved in public. The majority of the time I'm not going to speak. My channel is here. Why would I waste my time communicating with any members of law enforcement that I have to explain who I am? I'm just calmly going to follow directions and leave, come back to my studio, and express myself. There's zero reason to ever be bullied by human beings who are part of the same team you are and don't want to play wide receiver because you're the quarterback. Like, it's okay. You're going to be replaced. Like, we're still going to play another season. It happens. Trust me. It's been happening since the dawn of time. Like, what do you guys think? You're the first crew of morons that tried to hit the principal during a conspiracy? No. Let me explain. If you're watching this channel and you're starting to realize that what I'm saying is true, that is a normal human reaction. If you are continuing to suppress what I'm saying is true, you have reached the point of recovery. So that means that the ability to help you is starting to decrease with every day that passes. That's not a threat. That's a realistic system known as half-life. Once I reach the point where I am able to prove it to myself. Remember, it's a very metaphysical existence. I don't need to prove anything to anyone except myself. Once I proved it to myself, I'm good, guys. I got it. I'll move to Montana, raise some sheep, and have a home available for my children. I will pay any bill that is required for my children. I will never deny my role as a father. I think it's sick and weird to experience a life of a multi-millionaire heiress from a self-made man and then call that person a deadbeat dad while living in their house for a year and not paying a single mortgage payment. It's really I really don't even care about the money. I like, the only thing I ask is I get all my stuff back and you don't steal my shit like my mom did, and that I can just at full value purchase the 3 watches that my father-in-law purchased with me. They're very important to me. I'll give you full retail value for them. You can have it at the closing of the house. Those watches are extremely important to me. You can go buy the same watches, brand new ones, but the memories that exist around those watches are beyond irreplaceable to me. My father never gave me anything except a broken watch, and it's in my safe. And I just want to be able to pass some memories along to the boys. I love everyone. I apologize for any emotional states. Please understand that there's no opioids in my system. I'm just going through a very large shock in understanding that everything I've said on YouTube is true. By the way, I want everyone to know I am a federal agent, but if human beings have a material issue with a word, like for example, the N-bomb, you've got black people that use it every day on a daily basis without an issue. You have white people that use it, but selectively, some people, if they use it, they can be killed. Like, I'm not going to use that word. I'm not interested in pretending like it doesn't exist either. It's just not something that is enough safety around. These are, I call them trap words. They're trap words. If you're the wrong person that says it at the wrong time, that word shouldn't exist. So, and I say that is because these trap words are created for human beings to really not understand that opium is just a word. I'm not snorting heroin. I've never shot anything inside of me. and or needles or anything like that. But and I every single pill I have ever taken that is in association with what I talk about on YouTube was legally prescribed to me by multiple physicians on a monthly care system. I do not blame a single one of them. I don't. I know you want me to, but I don't. The decisions that I made myself. And I needed to make them because I do not believe I would be alive here today had I not self-medicated. Because the reality is that I never self-medicated. I self-regulated. It is much harder to take 15 milligrams once a day of an opioid and never increase except for a really horrible day where you have to take a second pill than to not take any opium at all. And the reason why I say this is that opioid addiction is not able to be stabilized within a human brain unless there's a few things that happen. And I'm not saying that I'm holding any secrets. I'm just trying to express that humans need to be able to be comfortable enough to make a fucking mistake. Like if you think about the tens of thousands of words or millions of words that I've said and published live, if there are words like cellulite or celluloid that are mistakes, that doesn't mean that I'm some sort of a moron or a bullshitter or anything like that. It's just that the concept of pressure only exists for everyone but Dan Rhesus. So like you don't, because of my accomplishments and your inability to accept reality, you don't understand that I'm a human being that makes mistakes. And I'm expressing to you that having a cycle of dependency post, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 invasive cancer surgeries is a very normal routine to go through as a modern adult that believes in the medical system. I did it through insurance, I did it through the care, nothing was a secret. Every person in my life knows about this. I didn't hide it from a single person. If I needed my green pill, I expressed it. It was the stigma of being outed for having a weakness. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of going on YouTube and saying, look, I take an opioid once a day because I have a pain in my ass and a pain in my ass. And the reason why I say that is because it's true. The pain is more internal organ. And now it's obviously within the bone system because the opioid will leave my system when I say it leaves my system. Research and medical research obviously is not applicable to the first human being on earth to be able to successfully detox from an opioid live on YouTube. And I really want to end this video, but I got to get this story out. And when my mother did what she did to my father, one of the reasons why I say that I don't blame her is because the man that she met had a really nice family. They were really kind to me. I'm not going to reinvent history and say that this man beat me or hurt me. That's not at all what happened. As a matter of fact, it was the complete opposite, and it was a lack of attention, awareness, and purposeful neglect, which sometimes is actually worse, like in my case, where the love that I give, I expect to reciprocate, and I was very naive, excuse me for being 12. So when it comes to the reality of the context is my mother is the same woman who brought us to the Bolshoi and insisted on telling everyone about it. When she met this gentleman, and there's a little bit of backstory that's required, so I need Jamie's a little bit more attention and focus. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In Russia, there were these places called domodakhi. Have you heard of this? If you were a human being that lived in like an apartment complex, or like you don't have a dacha, or like even sometimes you have like a small family dacha or whatever,
Okay.
you would go to these places called rest homes. And it was basically the equivalent of an all-inclusive.
Okay.
Okay? So when people would go on vacation, they went to these places, and it was like an all-inclusive. There was a pool, there was like cross-country skiing and things like that. And like people would eat together, and it was like a big deal.
Okay.
Okay? So I don't know about this, but apparently within the Jewish circles, the more powerful you are, the more pull you have. So one of the stories, so my dad's name is Arkady, and he went by Alec, which is also Alex.
Okay.
This man's name is Sasha, and he went by Alex.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 2 Alexes,
Okay.
both with beards, both jewelers, one's skinny, one's fat. That's really the only difference. And age difference and whatever. So obviously when people come to America, I make this joke where like every cab driver used to be a doctor in Russia. My dad used to say that also, and he's like, look, a lot of people want to reinvent themselves when they come to America, and it's respectful, and like we understand what it is. But the guy that's driving around the cab wasn't a doctor. He's a doctor. He works in a hospital right now. He's like vets and things like that.
He wasn't a doctor?
No, like for example, my aunt was a nurse in Russia. Remember my Aunt Joanna? I keep saying it.
Yeah.
Do you know what she did in America?
Yeah.
What?
She did the machines. She took like...
No, that's Galena.
Oh.
I have Aunt Joanna.
Oh.
Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. You could tell Jamie 400 stories. She'll say yes, and on YouTube.
So which one did she do? I had them confused.
She was a nurse in Russia. It doesn't matter. She was a nurse in America. That's the point. My aunt went to medical school in Russia and or pre-med or whatever, and she became in the medical field.
Got it. Okay.
Like the guy that's driving a cab was not a doctor in Russia. Okay, there's plenty of people in America that need a guy that's educated in medicine to work in medicine.
Correct.
And not drive a cab. So, I can't believe you don't know the difference, Jamie. Wow, what a waste of time. All right. So, now that I say that, fuck. All right. So, I'm standing. So, anyways, this guy, Sasha, whatever, the story's stupid now. This guy, Sasha, he's a really nice guy, and he's telling, he tells a lot of tall tales, and that was one of the things, whatever. And I call him tall tales. I don't want to call him lies. His truth is not mine to say is a lie. But he liked to talk about how important his family was in Russia and things like that. And, my mom is there listening to this story as if it's like the greatest story. And the story goes very simple. In Russia, when you drink something, it's called kompot, which is nothing more than any type of fruit that's boiled down with sugar and a lemon. But if you want to make it in mass production, you get canned fruit and you heat it up a little bit and you mix it in and make like a giant punch. So the story that he says is like in Russia, this man, and I don't want to say his name because he actually was really good to me, so I don't want to like call him out, and I'm cool with his son. And like I said, like the family of the guy was much better than the guy, so I was okay with it because I wanted family, and that's why I was so upset when my wife took my kids to Florida, because she introduced them to an element that my mom did the same thing. I didn't have a family on my father's side, so my mom introduced me to a surrogate family that was really nice to me. So like identically of what happened. Obviously it's going to be a very different set of circumstances if my wife chooses to continue down this path, but we can address that matter later with attorneys and civilly in court, but with real attorneys, not the bullshit that I've had to look at. Because obviously my emotional state in these matters is a little too high, so one of the first things I'm going to do upon closing is wire $250,000 to the law firm of Jamie's choice in order to have proper representation in court. That is the normal thing to do. I have about $2 million in disputed equity, and that's my problem. The judgments that I have to deal with, I'll handle very swiftly and efficiently, and the reason why I say this is because there's no merit behind them, and one of the things everyone needs to understand is the biggest fear that anyone has is this: Daniel being calm enough to express himself, not get upset, get up and leave, and orate himself. And if you've ever heard me speak in court, please understand that I might not be the best orator or public speaker in the world, but I sure as shit will crack the top 100. So at the age of 43, if I continue working 5 more years, I will be the best in the world. As a matter of fact, I never stop until I get to the #1 status. Yesterday, I feel like I made the world's best plof. But I won't know until I publish a video and actually see it. And I say the best because there's a balance of time, space. Was it good?
It was delicious.
Fuck yeah. So, that's a great answer, Jamie. A lot of people think that there's some weird brainwashing when a human being cooks for another human being and they say that it's delicious. So,
brainwashing? By saying food is good? That's
Jamie,
so weird.
anytime that a human being agrees with a very polarizing human being, other people will stand up against it to give themselves meaning and relevance. There is no you. You do not matter unless I say you matter. And if I mention you in a negative light, that doesn't mean you matter. That means that you're doing something bad. And it would be nice if you started doing something good. But lo and behold, we don't live in that type of world. And the reason why I say this is because this man, Alex, Sasha, my stepfather, would routinely tell this story about how his relative one day when they were in the Dom Odech at this thing, they all got their compot.
Okay.
And he realized that like it doesn't have enough sugar or fruit in it. So he was very upset. So he walked up and he's like, why is there no flavoring in here? And the guy says, well, because we don't have enough. And he goes, oh yeah? You sure you don't have the extra cans in there that you're saving? And the guy's like, oh, all right, he put it in there right now. And he's like, that's the kind of power that he had. And I'm watching my mom fawn over this story. She's like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then I'm like, what's a Dom Odech? And he like, what are you talking about? And my mom's like, shh, like, don't say anything. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I was like, what the hell is a Dom Odech? Like, where did you guys go? And then that night, my mom's like, well, you know how like we have the dacha and we would go to places where like you guys were the only kids and like the whole resort was like your dad and his friends. She's like, well, that's not the way people in Russia lived. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, what's a dacha? She's like, you know how like your dad and me and Mark, we went to Azerbaijan a couple of times a year. She's like, people aren't allowed to leave Russia, like 99%. I was like, so? And he's like, well, they think it's a big deal to add extra compote to a communal table of drinks.
Right.
And like, that's power. Like he would do something to the guy that's making the compote. And I'm like, Mom, like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you were not raised in a normal childhood. Like, you're really insulting these people when you don't understand it. I was like, I don't understand it because I don't understand what the fuck the big deal about compot is. That's what I don't understand. And she's like, well, he's saying that he had a lot of pull and he could have had the guy arrested or fired from his job for the compot. And I said to myself, I'm like, Mom, who that's going to this Dom Odech has any power?
Yeah.
And this is where we got into a huge fight. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Who gives a flying fuck? Like you're the one that took me to the Bolshoi and all this stuff, and like I'm not able to express myself.
Right.
But
right.
one of the things that I say,
Very
like
frustrating.
maybe like you guys will find really insulting is like, or like embarrassing is like my first time that I saw tits, I was 5, and the reason why I'm so happy about it is because I'll never forget because. In the dachas, we were in a very exclusive winter resort. Most people didn't have even a summer resort, let alone a winter resort. And we were in a very exclusive resort, and like the men didn't want the boys with them, so we went with the women. And I was like, the women. And I was only 5. And Mark is like picking his nose, and I'm like, Mark, check this shit out. And the women have these giant breasts, especially the ones that do. But like unfortunately, and like it was very big. My mom wasn't there. Like thank God. And I'm in this banya with Mark, and he's just like yeah, whatever. And we go out, whatever. And like now on YouTube, I'm gonna say like Mark, didn't you think it's weird there were no other children? So anyways, I guess at the Dom Odech there were thousands of children. And no one gives a shit about that.
The all-inclusive.
But like my point of my mom, I was just like, and she's like, whatever, it's a story. And I'm like, I know it's a story, but I don't understand why like this has to be like a big deal about compot. Because like if we're talking about stories, I wanted to be like, all right, Sash, you want to hear a story about like my family? But like, like he would, I don't want to interfere in my mom's happiness. I wasn't like really that interested in beefing with this guy. And he ended up showing his true colors. He ended up borrowing money from my mom under the house, and he opened up the Russian restaurant across the street from Turtleback Zoo. That was a huge failure.
Right.
I tried to even work as a waiter to help him out. I didn't really understand that he was sleeping with the hostess or what. I don't know if it's true. Like what I know is only from my mom, who I know does not tell the truth. So I don't know anything until I give this man a chance. And that's the way we're going to end it. And I think that everyone deserves a chance with a clear-headed adult Daniel who can, and it's cool. Like I skipped the midlife crisis part. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just an adult now.
It's true.
I went from like a teenager to
You
adult.
You
So
did.
if you find that to be fascinating or not,
very fascinating.
it's very nice of you. I think we should
Very
cut the tape because I think that I've expressed my point. Oh, do you have any questions based on what you just saw?
No.
Are you sure? Do you understand that sending emails and continuously to excessively work during a time where our entire future in business hinges upon two very important court orders?
100%.
All right, I hope everyone
100%.
understands that I am a very hardworking individual. I am not interested in the rhetoric or narrative that I'm lazy or wasting time or
No,
anything.
you are literally one of the hardest working people
Thank
I've
you.
ever met.
That's
You
very, very
bust your
nice of
ass
you.
all day. Like, we're
Let's go to tape. I don't
exhausted.
want to listen to this.